So if you've been watching this YouTube channel, you know more than anyone that the tensions between Iran and the United States are at an all-time high, but there's also massive pushback against the call for war, which we're going to be talking about in this video. But right now, we're getting breaking news that according to the Department of State, all non-emergency staff and diplomats are recalled and set to leave Iraq, of course, as tensions are mounting amid concerns with alleged attacks and threats from Iran, or as they're even saying here, Iran proxies. Again, a lot of generalized language here, a lot of bigger pushes, a lot of military movement, a lot of accusations going back and forth, and the United States has had a very hard line. And this, of course, has surprisingly even distanced a lot of our allies. It has specifically even made Pakistan come out and urge the United States to refrain from attacking Iran. But more specifically, in the United Kingdom, a British general came out and undermined everything that Trump and Bolton have been pushing for, saying, quote, what we've been saying, quote, no evidence of increased threat from Iran. Intelligence and military officials in Europe as well as in the United States said that over the past year, most aggressive moves oriented not in Tehran, but in Washington. Of course, we also talked about comments from the German foreign minister saying how, pretty much alluding how the United States is looking for a war here while Iran is not. But this British general coming out on the public world stage saying this is instrumental. It's huge because it shows everyone that people aren't buying this American push for war. But will this be enough in this kind of ego-obsessed culture where everyone's talking about all this other nonsense? Well, we don't know. But Donald Trump is, of course, not backing down. He, of course, is dismissing that there's a plan to send 120,000 troops from Iran to Iran. That, of course, came out from the New York Times from according Pentagon sources. But Trump is not saying and dismissing the story just on the merits of how insane it is. He's actually even doubling down and saying, well, if we're going to attack Iran, we're going to send a lot more than just 120,000 troops to that region. Doubling down on this incredibly aggressive war rhetoric. Jason, holy cow. How can people not see this coming? This is complete opposite of where Donald Trump stood on the issues that got him elected to be president of the United States, which of course were non-interventionist policies. Jason.
So here we are, and I want to make sure everybody understands there's been no evidence given, number one, like this general said, there was any kind of an escalation between Iran and Iranian-backed forces and going after quote-unquote U.S. interests. All fake. And then we have this harbor attack where 4 ships are hit and nobody really knows what exactly happened. We know nobody was killed. Nobody was injured. We know that no oil was lost, even though 2 of these were oil tankers. No connections. And then we have pipelines that supposedly we're being told by the media very conveniently were hit with Yemeni drones. Another place that we're currently involved with Saudi Arabia in picking targets and essentially bombing terrorists. Okay.
Well, what they're calling this is a threat against the global oil supply and international terrorism by Iran and Iranian proxies. That's the official talking points here. There were some ships from the UAE. There was 2 Saudi Arabian ships, Saudi Arabian pipeline, which they say controlled, I believe, 1/5 of the world's oil supply, and that this was an attempt by Iran to disrupt the worldwide economy, the worldwide oil supplies, because again, Iran and Saudi Arabia are the major competitors against each other when it comes to oil and oil exporting. Now, the United States has closed off Iran to the world market, where even Europe is afraid to trade with Iran. And Europe has been trying to trade with Iran to appease it so it doesn't go back on the Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump axed. As we know, Iran has actually just recently got rid of some of its commitments that it has committed to in that Iran deal that, of course, Donald Trump axed. that was celebrated by Netanyahu, that was celebrated by John Bolton. This is one of the precursors of this larger escalation between Iran and the United States. Both countries are not blinking here. This is a pure escalation, but holy cow, Jason. This, I mean, Pakistan, whatever, but this British general saying this,
well, you know what? I'm glad that you brought up the oil interests really quickly, because as soon as this happened, what happened? Oh, oil prices shot up. All of a sudden, I mean, who did this really benefit? All of a sudden, the Saudi Arabians and the United States, who could trade with everybody, Luke, the oil prices went up. It's just so weird. And then we were able to have even more military go in there. Even though, again, the Abraham Lincoln had already been scheduled to go to the UAE long before the quote-unquote warning from Israel that Iran and Iranian proxies were going to go after U.S. interests. That was already happening. We were able to send a couple more ships, and now we have B-52 bombers deployed there, Luke. And I want to make this very clear. This is not Jason Bermas saying we don't know who did this. This is international CNN, and let's hear it really quickly, Luke, what they have to say about the harbor attack.
It's not quite clear yet what caused this sabotage, how it was perpetrated, or even, for that matter, who perpetrated it.
So there you go. They have no idea. No idea. There's been no evidence presented. They don't even know what they used to do this, Luke. And what has it caused? A huge military escalation in that area. And I really, really do not want to get into another one of these wars of aggression. This is not...
it's pointless. There's no benefit to the United States. This is purely a geopolitical clash of civilizations between the Sunnis and Shias. And again, if you look at the world map, and if you look at Iran, you look at the Middle East specifically, you look at all the U.S. bases surrounding it. The United States has installations in Turkey, in Iraq, in Saudi Arabia, in Afghanistan. They're surrounding Iran militarily. They're only enforcing this. And Trump denying this initial report of 120,000 troops and doubling down on it, that's the real astounding thing. That should really wake a lot of people up. If you're still supporting Donald Trump, you have to understand you're supporting the neocons. You're supporting the warmongers. He put and empowered John Bolton. All right, we were reporting on the Iran deal when it was canceled by Trump, and calling this out for a very long time. And we were told, no, stop being anti-Trump. Trump's going to do the right thing here. There was other alternative media saying, hey, specifically Trump is going to get out of Afghanistan next year. He's only postponing it. That's been already 3 years down the line, 2 years down the line. And again, what else do you need to see here? Quote, we're going to send a hell of a lot more troops. Why? For what? Already the United States has a sufficient oil supply in itself. It doesn't need to align itself with the Wahhabist Sunni radicals. It gets mainly the Shias here. Why? How does this going to help? And they're going with this aggressively. This latest move of the U.S. Embassy is moving its staff away from Iraq. That's terrifying a lot of people. And that's why we're having so many people come forward and say, hey, if you're going to do this, you're going to need to make a better case, because they're being very lazy here, like we've been reporting. Even with their deployment of the aircraft carrier group and the military strike force, they made that announcement public last month, but now all the mainstream media is reporting that this is all because of a new threat. No. Again, Jason, is there anything I'm missing here? There's absolutely no need for this at all.
I just want to remind everybody that Iran has been a very vocal target in our media and political system since after 9/11. Not just talking about the Wesley Clark statement saying that Iran would be one of the nations we took out in 5 years, Syria being one of those nations, took longer to get into Syria, Iraq being one of those nations, of course, Somalia, Sudan, all stuff we're in. I want to remind them that they actually named them, Luke, as the axes of evil, part of the axes of evil. This is the framework we've been working with for more than 15 years, going on 20 years. And militarily, we have now had our way in going into these nations, and not very successfully, might I add. Successfully in the sense that we get to stay there, that there's turmoil, that there's unrest, that there's more and more military there. But as far as peace, as rebuilding, as bringing freedom there, that's not the case at all, Luke.
Yeah. You have to understand, neocons see Iran as the final kind of chess piece in their kind of deranged global hegemony plot. They've been plotting and trying to orchestrate this for more than 18 years. Look at the pic. I just sent you a link, Jason, on your Facebook. If you can, put this photo up because it shows the U.S. military bases that have been installed around this. This is the final chess piece. If this chess piece falls, this is going to be the last one, and it's going to signify a lot of trouble ahead. It's going to signify the involvement of China, the involvement of Russia, and this is absolutely insane. It's done for not for democracy and for world safety and the threats against terrorism. It's done for, of course, many other reasons that are not for the benefit of the people.
No, you're 100% spot on, and people don't realize how geopolitically this is going to hurt worse than anything else we've done in the Middle East, because you have, Russia saying no, no, no. Even Pakistan is vocalizing they don't want this to happen. And remember, Pakistan has pretty much been our houseboy in the war on terror, doing almost everything we say. Folks, we're going to continue on this story. I don't see it being covered in the alternative media much. I only see it being covered mainly pro-war in the mainstream media. I'm seeing some influencers.
Well, even in the alternative media, there's individuals tweeting about how horrible Iran is because in certain areas they can't wear hijabs. I'm like, dude, is that really what you're concerned about? Is that really the main thing that you want to put out there as they're calling for sending hundreds of thousands of troops, as they're calling for the death of other people? Iran is your target, not Saudi Arabia. I mean, this individual has completely lost it, turned his back on anti-war principles, and just is promoting more warmongering propaganda to fit the agenda of its political party and establishment. And it's sickening, Jason. Sorry, I just have to get that off my chest.
No, you're 100% right. It's gross. And Luke, I saw one of them actually say, let's take a poll. Who thinks it's a good idea for a ground invasion in Iran? And
have we not learned anything from Iraq,
nobody should.
From Yemen, from Syria, from Libya? You idiots! What is wrong with you? Like everything has it goes to a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. It's absolutely insane, Jason.
It is, and like I said, guys, we're gonna continue to bring you the latest, especially because again, no one's talking about this escalation in any meaningful way. And that's why we need you to share this content on social media, like this video by jamming on the thumbs up, subscribe to News for a Change and WeAreChange, pumping out 4 videos a day for you. But most importantly, get vocal, get real about real issues. I don't care if you're on the left or the right. Right now is the time to go out there and be the change you want to see in the world.